You're on Pure 24/7 Radio. It's Dan here. And as promised, it is guest time once again. And today, nonetheless, we are heading currently to the Scottish Parliament, where we find in one of the offices hiding away somewhere is James Bundy. Hi, James. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Dan. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Thanks for giving us your time today to chat about what's going to be a really important subject, actually, but really, really important. But before we get to that, just let our listeners know just a little bit about who is James Bundy.
Yes, so I'm based in Falkirk, and I'm a councillor in Falkirk. I'm serving the people of Falkirk North. I was elected in 2022. So currently in my first term and around halfway through, if not slightly just beyond halfway in my term. And that has been an exciting opportunity, difficult times in the council with very difficult decisions being made, but it is an honour to serve people and have that trust that people have put in me. And I do take that responsibility seriously to try and get the best decisions for financial sustainability whilst protecting frontline services. Out with the council, I also work in Parliament, which is why I'm here today. And on top of that, in my spare time, I like to read, particularly about Scottish history, go out for walks in nature, and play a bit of football and tennis.
Brilliant. And I suppose disclaimer, I should say that James is my local councillor, or one of my local councillors, although I mean, it's on the record. James knows, sadly, I didn't vote for him, but I do love what you're doing, and James, and I know you supported a number of things that I'm involved with locally. So we'll put that on the record that working in the same area, and for the same good, to make people's lives a bit better if we can in this area. And just knows Falkirk North is one of the tougher areas to be working in for sure, with some of the issues that we face. But maybe that's a conversation for another time with the many things. And I really do feel and have the greatest respect for those who've, like yourself, as public servants, who've given this time to serve, because this is, I imagine, probably one of the tougher times to be in this kind of role.
Yes, just tight financial pressures in the council, but also within the households across Falkirk North and across the UK.
Yeah.
And people want help, they want assistance. And when there's negative headlines about spending cuts in the news, they sometimes feel disempowered and that lack of hope. And that's a real challenge. I'm
Mm.
trying to offer that hope whilst also looking at the financial reality and realizing a lot more tough decisions are going to come. So it's trying to find that balance between truth and hope, but that can be achieved in many ways, as this radio station knows.
Yeah, absolutely. Very much lies at the heart of what we do here at Pure, keeping putting out that hope in other ways, certainly, and trying to keep that for people. So, and regular listeners will know that occasionally I get interrupted by my dog, who's just appeared into this interview. But he's going to lie down and be good now for the rest of this chat. So, James, we're not here though to talk about issues in public life, or the perils of being in local government or anything like that. We're here to talk about the really important issue of strokes. And you are, for personal reasons that you may or not wish to share, wanting to expand the kind of pre-checks for strokes. And many listeners will know of the FAST check, and certainly that's the adverts that we see, which is face, arms, speech, and time. But you want to add on, well, as in other countries are doing, add on two letters in front of that, which is to add the word B into balance and eyes. And for those who might listen back to this or watch this on our YouTube channel later on, you'll see behind me we've got one of the campaign briefing that. So, James, talk to us about where this has come from and the campaign that you're trying to get going now.
Yes, so as you mentioned, Dan, this is a very personal issue for me. So in June 2023, my dad passed away following an undiagnosed stroke. His symptoms were out with fast, and it meant that his stroke was not detected by his GP. It meant that an ambulance initially wasn't dispatched by the Scottish Ambulance Service. It meant that when an ambulance did turn up, stroke was ruled out by the paramedic, and it was ruled out initially at triage in Glasgow Royal Hospital. So 4 different stages, different people, the fast test was used, and it resulted in my dad waiting in Glasgow Royal Corridor for over 5.5 hours before the fatal stroke occurred. And events moved very quickly, as you can imagine, that day, and I didn't really give much of a thought that symptoms could occur out with FAST. I thought FAST was the public health campaign, these are the guidelines, but also it's the test that the medical professionals are using. So there must be some valid reason for it, and there certainly is a valid reason for it. But when I did some further research into it, I was getting this notion that potentially 1 up to 5 strokes could be missed by the FAST test, and up to half of posterior circulation strokes, so the strokes that affect the brainstem, could be missed by the FAST test. And I thought that is pretty shocking. To translate that into Scottish figures, over 11,000 strokes in 2023 in Scotland, which would mean over 2,000 potentially missed by the FAST test. And I thought that that's scandalous, if that is figures true. So I started doing some research into potential alternatives, and that's when I stumbled across BEFAST, saw that it was used by Harvard Medical School, Yale School of Medicine, and that there had been research commissioned and published by the American Stroke Association and by universities in Australia. And the one in Australia was more important because it was set in a live medical setting, and its outcome, or the conclusion of the report, was BEFAST used in a live medical setting resulted in quicker diagnosis, quicker treatment, and better outcomes. And the report from the American Stroke Association said it could increase stroke detection up to 95%.
Wow.
So with those two bits of research, my family and I thought there was a case to be made to extend FAST to BEFAST in Scotland, because the more symptoms there are, it improves your chances of diagnosing a stroke, which improves your chances of getting the life-saving treatment that you need. And that's the premise behind the campaign, using the grief and the pain associated with grief for good, to try and save lives and improve people's chances of detecting stroke.
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, people will see this in posters and they'll see it all over the telly as well, the FAST thing, and they'll remember hopefully the what that stands for. What's the added bit? What are the BE? What does that stand for, and how will that help even more, do you think?
So it's for balance, so for B, and E is eyes. So balance is when you're, as it says, off balance. If you're struggling to coordinate, it kind of goes in tandem with the arms and the side of the body, but it's focusing more on the legs. And then the eyes can be either two things. It can be vision being affected. So if your vision suddenly goes blurry or you can't see out an eye, that can be a symptom of stroke. Or it can be if you're looking at somebody and their eyes are just starting to roll, which was what happened with my dad. He just eyes struggling to roll, and it was something seriously wrong. Is up, and then the face, arms, and speech is for the FAST, and then T is for time. But in some countries, they use T for throwing up as well. But the campaign is just focusing on time just now, because throwing up can be so many things, and we don't want to give the impression that if you're throwing up, you have to go to A&E, because that's the wrong message to send out. But I think the crucial thing to highlight is that it only has to be one of the symptoms. It's not a checklist where you say, oh, I'm losing my balance and my face is drooping, but my speech is all right, so it's not a stroke. But if you're having any one of these symptoms, go and get checked, because it could be a stroke.
And this is the thing, I suppose people will see, perhaps that harks back to our earlier conversation, they'll see the headlines about NHS struggling and difficulties to get GP appointments or long waits at A&E. But the advice would, as you say, if any one of these symptoms is go and get yourself checked as soon as possible.
Yes, it's better to be sorry than to have a stroke because
Yeah.
you didn't get the medical help that you needed. So it's better to go and get told you're not having a stroke than to wait and have a stroke.
Yeah.
So that's the message that I would send out. If you're suspecting a stroke, get help.
Absolutely. And tell us those stats again, James. So you reckon that just going through FAST still misses sort of 1 in 5, 20% of strokes?
Yeah, so that figure comes from NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde. So into the SARE report, the Significant Adverse Event Report into my dad's death,
Mm.
that says up to 1 in 5 strokes could be missed by FAST, and up to half of posterior circulation strokes could be missed. And yeah, it's not to dismiss the work of FAST,
Mm.
because when FAST was introduced, it did help improve stroke detection. But my point is, let's not stick with the status quo. You might think it's beside the point, because conservative people might think I want to stick with tradition and stick with what seems to be working, but actually I want to stick with the principle behind the FAST campaign, which is to detect strokes to save lives. And if we can detect more strokes to save more lives, then that's worth making change for.
Yeah.
And that is why BEFAST, which some studies that show could detect up to 95% of strokes, well, 95% is higher than 80%.
Yeah.
So let's go for the one at 95%.
Yeah. And this is not something you've dreamed up. This is active in a number of countries, isn't it?
Yes, so it's used in Australia, used in some states in the USA and by medical schools. It's used in India, it's used in South Africa.
Mm.
It's used in, where did I see it? Myanmar. It's some countries that I don't even think speak English as their first language have been using BFAST as well.
Wow.
So if I say the UK is behind, but with the current health policy of the UK being involved in devolution, my my invitation to the Scottish Government has been take the lead.
Yeah.
Let's take the lead in the UK, lead the way. The smoking ban indoors was one of the few times I would say the Scottish Government has taken the lead in the public health policy.
Mm.
This is another area, to quote Boris Johnson, it's oven ready. It is there, it's in the packaging. All you need to do is say, this is what we're doing. And there are some concerns about BFAST resulting in an increase in false positives, but again, my response to that is it's better for people to turn up and get told you're not having a stroke than it is for people to wait at home to then suffer a stroke, which could be fatal. So if we want to strike the balance and say, okay, we might not want to do a full rollout, then have a trial. Let's trial this thing, because that's where we're going to get real data in Scotland. So let's do that.
Yeah. So what response are you having to the campaign so far? We've seen there's a Facebook page that we'll link through the socials from this interview as well, and you've got your little business cards. I know you're getting distributed around in places. But what impact is that having to actually take some of these steps to even get to a trial?
Yes, so the response has been great, and public support is there, and it's not just it's beyond my family and the friends within my family. So it's not a campaign that is just the grieving politician, as I'm conscious of the image that could project. But I've had people across Scotland and across the UK saying, you know what, something similar happened to my family member, or something similar happened to me, but thankfully it wasn't fatal. So this broad coalition, from the young to the old to any age group, any gender, any religion, is getting involved in this campaign. And it is a real grassroots movement. There is no campaign funding, no real infrastructure either, as in we don't have a committee, or we don't have a campaign lead. We just have a group of people coming together to highlight that whilst FAST has saved lives, BFAST could save even more. And if the Scottish Government and the UK Government aren't going to run a public health campaign of BFAST, well, we're going to take it into our own hands. because we believe that knowing BEFAST improves your chances of surviving a stroke. So that's where the business cards have came out. And yeah, that response has been great. And the public campaign and the public understanding of BEFAST is slowly ticking up. And I see that with the metrics of the Facebook page and the responses that posts are getting. In terms of the impact it's having on more public policy, I actually read a submission to the Scottish Parliament just last night, and it was from NHS Ayrshire and Arran, who said that they would be keen to run a trial of BEFAST if it could be agreed with the government. And the government said in November, December, that they would be happy for any health board in Scotland to run a trial. So I'm seeing government happy to run a trial, health board wants to run a trial. Let's get these people together to run a trial.
Yeah.
But that was a big update from NHS Ayrshire and Arran last night, which is an exclusive for you because
Fantastic.
I've not shared it anywhere yet. But even maybe smaller things. We had a debate in Parliament, but that's not a small thing, but that was a debate in Parliament, cross-party support. We've got the Tory party and the Greens agreeing. Not often that happens, but that happened with the BEFAST debates, and that was great to see. So there is there, and with my calculations, I think there's a majority in Parliament who would support BEFAST. So that's encouraging. And we also, and this is more the smaller things I'm talking about, when you get the occasional articles in newspapers saying these are the symptoms of stroke, well, the Sun and Telegraph are using BEFAST now. They weren't using it before our campaign. They're now using BEFAST. And that's a small thing because it's not a public health campaign, but a lot of people read those newspapers. And if they're just getting a glimpse of BEFAST, then that's progress being made.
Brilliant. No, that's really great. So next steps, I suppose, is to try and, as you say, get these people together in a room to get some of these trials happen. Are you just focusing on Scottish Parliament, or are you having any inroads with Westminster as well?
But I spoke to Ewan, who you know, Ewan Steinbank MP.
Yep. That's the Falkirk MP for the record, who's Labour MPs. I did see the photo about that. It was good to see you working together.
Yes, so Ewan is going to do some work at Westminster as well, and Jackie Bailey, MSP, has written to the health counterpart in Westminster as well. So they are reaching out to Westminster, being made for BEFAST, and if the UK government decided to trial BEFAST, then great. I don't care if it's UK government, Scottish government. No, I'd like it to be in Scotland, so with that element. But if we can start getting the ball rolling on BEFAST and we learn from each other, then that's progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And, slightly tongue in cheek, the listeners of Pure will know that I will push all things Scotland, and that all the best things come out of Scotland. So, hey, if we can be adopting this, yes. But we also have listeners, who are around the world. So actually it would be interesting for our listeners who are overseas, who may be in an area where BEFAST is operating. We'd love to hear comments from them. So for those people, drop us a message through on the socials where we share this, or if you're listening on the website, go to the bottom of the page and click on the WhatsApp link. And we'd love to hear people's comments, maybe your experiences of BEFAST in your area. We'd love to hear those stories. And if appropriate, we'll pass those on to you, James. You can add those into your campaign and see how we can help. So I guess on that is how can people help? How can they get involved in helping promote BEFAST then?
Yes, so Facebook page. Dan, you said you're going to put the link.
We will do. Yep.
What we'll do is to click on the link and follow the page, because that's where all the updates are going to happen. So the poster behind you, Dan, I'm sure came from the page.
Yes, it did.
The BEFAST page. So there's going to be graphics about the symptoms of BEFAST, why BEFAST should be rolled out, and also updates about the campaign and the discussions that we're having in Parliament, with governments, with the stroke charities, with different NHS boards. All of those updates are shared on the campaign page, and that helps people just follow the campaign. And if you've got any suggestions, just feel free to comment them, and because we will read them and incorporate them into the campaign if we think it will help move the campaign forward. The other thing to do is we do have business cards, as you mentioned them, and on those business cards are the symptoms of stroke. It is actually identical at the front to the sign that you have behind you, Dan, but on the back is a QR code for the Facebook page as well. So getting a bundle of the business cards and handing them out to friends and family, encouraging them to get onto the Facebook page is the number one way to support the campaign. The second way, and it's if you live in Scotland, is to email your MSPs. Just go on the Scottish Parliament website, type your postcode in, your members of Scottish Parliament will come up, and just email them saying, I support BEFAST. I know work's being done in the public realm to get this expanded. I support this. What are you going to do to help expand it?
Brilliant. Yeah, we can promote that. And when we've finished recording this interview, James, I'll catch up with you at the end, but we'll try and get some of those cards off you, actually, because Pure are involved in a number of Christian festivals around the UK, and we'll be, I think, attending a lot more this year. So maybe we can have some of those cards on when we go out and about to put them alongside the Pure Radio stuff, and we can put those, which reaches a whole range of people around the whole UK. So we'd love to support you in that.
That would be great. I've got thousands of them, so the more the merrier.
Yeah, they're no good just sitting in a drawer in your office, are they? We need to get them in people's hands out and about. So, James, thank you so much for telling us that. Thank you for sharing. I know you do it very often, but sharing about your dad. But it's really great to see how that's inspired now, as you say, channeling grief into something positive and trying to stop other people having to go through what you and your family had to go through in 2023 with the sad loss of Tony there. And we wish you every success with the campaign. We really hope, thank you for that exclusive. We hope that Ayrshire and Aaron are soon followed. I hope it isn't just going to go through the alphabet and that A is the first one and it works the way through. But hey, whatever way it makes its way through the health boards, Scotland or the rest of the UK, if they want to follow on Scotland's tails, then that's fine for that to happen as well. The important thing, as we said. So anyone, listen, if you've got any of these symptoms, we're saying it's not a tick list, as James said. You don't have to have all of those symptoms to show you got a stroke. Any signs, go and get yourself checked. Don't worry about the fact that people are saying that A&E is under pressure, because they will triage you. And if there's any element of those stroke things, and hopefully,
and I should add to that. In my meeting with the Scottish Government, they are going to roll out training for all medical professionals in Scotland for BEFAST. So medical staff should be using BEFAST for triaging them. So balance and eyes should be considered as symptoms of stroke.
Yeah.
So that has been a progress. So it's not a change to the public health campaign, but it would mean that if my dad presented himself, his stroke should be suspected.
Yeah.
So that is progress. And it's something to recognise and say that that's good news, but we can go further.
Yeah.
Because people need to know the symptoms to turn up in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully in our small little way through this chat and where we'll share this, that this can just help a little bit more with that campaign, and all power to you and all you're doing. And yeah, hopefully we can save some more lives as a result of adding just that simple thing of adding 2 other little checks onto what we're doing, to try and save even more people's lives. That's what we want to do at the end of the day.
Indeed. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
And thank you for Pure Radio for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you, and thanks for your time today, James. All the best to what you're doing.
Thanks, Dan.